So, welcome to today's Greater Life CoffeeCast. And with our focus today being the pillar of health, my question is, are you stacking the value equation of health in your favour? Are you stacking the value equation of health in your favour? Now, what do I mean by this? Well, the value equation refers to an idea laid out by Alex Hormozi in his book, $100 Million Offers. And I was listening to one of his podcasts just recently. And though I'd come across the value equation, of course, through reading his books and watching various videos. And by the way, if you are listening to this and you're interested in business and you haven't yet spent time diving into stuff that Alex Hormozi puts out, I cannot recommend it highly enough. I spent a decade and a half being fascinated by business and business concepts. And I don't think I've come across someone who thinks as clearly about business as he does and is able to articulate it as accessibly. And those two things are rare. There are great business thinkers out there, but they're not necessarily able to articulate it as accessibly. And there are people who perhaps are outstanding communicators, but who perhaps haven't got the same level of business insights as Alex Hormozi has and is documenting through the companies that he is building and the net worth that he is building on a yearly basis. And so just as a side note, I cannot recommend that strongly enough because he is someone who I just keep coming back to because when you find something that works, rather than going and finding 5 other things that work, for me now, more and more, it is about returning to the things that I know work and that bring me value that I can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper on. So, for example, in poetry, I know that Khalil Gibran and Rabindranath Tagore and Rumi and Hafiz, and these are poets who I can return to time and again, and each time I come across a piece of their work, there's going to be a depth there that wasn't there in my previous reading. And equally, someone like Neville Goddard, in the realm of kind of consciousness, spirituality, manifestation science, there's going to be something there each time I listen that lands in a different way. Right now I'm deep into simulation theory study, and the study of the true nature of our realm, our planet. And so there's a few guys, one called a YouTube channel called Archaics, a YouTube channel called Stellium 7, who both are offering things that I can return to time and again to deepen my understanding. And Alex Hormozi is another one in the realm of business where the more I listen to what he puts out, the deeper I appreciate the accessible nuances and the depth of insight that he is sharing. Okay, so a little aside, but a recommendation there because one of the things that I most appreciate is the way he shares frameworks and principles that don't just apply to business. And I've said many, many times on these coffee casts and in the newsletters that a sound principle across any of the 4 pillars is going to be a sound principle across all of the 4 pillars. And that's what got me really thinking about sharing this episode, is this idea of the value equation that he lays out in his book, $100 Million Offers, referring, of course, to how you create value within an offer in business. And yet, as I listened and knowing I had to make this episode, I realized that in my own life right now, I was applying elements of this equation to get me moving once again in the direction of having a regular exercise and fitness practice. So his value equation is, on the top of the equation, dream outcome multiplied by perceived likelihood of achievement. And then on the underside of the equation, the bottom half is time delay multiplied by effort and sacrifice. And that the differential of these gives you the value, basically. So if we think about, he uses the example of weight loss. The dream outcome would be, losing 100 pounds. multiplied by the perceived likelihood of achievement, and then divided by the time delay multiplied by the effort and sacrifice. And so we can take a couple of examples to map out how this works, right? So he says, liposuction, the perceived likelihood of you being able to lose 100 pounds through liposuction is pretty much guaranteed, right? You go to the doctor, you pay him loads of money, and we'll see why that is in a second, and you wake up after being under and you've lost 100 pounds because they've sucked it out of you, right? Time delay, pretty minimal. You're knocked out for your operation for about 2 or 3 hours maybe. Effort and sacrifice. Do you have to sacrifice much? Not really. You just have to show up at the clinic and get it done, right? So that is why liposuction might cost 50 grand, because it's almost pretty much guaranteed to help you lose the weight. It takes very little time and it takes very little effort, right? That therefore means it is very valuable. Okay, as opposed to, say, a gym program where over the course of 12 months you might lose the same amount of weight, but it's not as guaranteed, i.e. there is a lower perceived likelihood of achievement. The time delay, well, it's going to take 12 months maybe of consistent effort and sacrifice. So the fact that there is a greater time delay, there is more effort and sacrifice required, and there is a lower perceived likelihood of achievement means that a gym program has got a lower price point or value attached in the marketplace than liposuction. So what has all this got to do with health and exercise besides this example that I just happened to use, which is the one that Alex Hormozi uses, which is weight loss? Well, for me, I was like, struggling to kind of get my exercise moving again. I had a really potent period where I was leveraging flow states and I was, out boulder hopping, swimming in the sea very regularly. And I think, I'll be real with you, a couple of things have occurred. One is that, particularly with the sea swimming, I had a lot of memories bound up of being in my previous relationship. And so I think naturally I just, as a part of the grieving and healing process from that, the moving on process, I felt less inclined to do it, even though it's still something that really serves me. And being real right now down here in Cornwall, it's been absolutely horrific weather for the best part of 2 weeks. So it's been less of a regular thing. Similarly with boulder hopping. You don't want to go boulder hopping on wet rocks because that's seriously dangerous. So there's been a couple of reasons why my natural flow got kind of inhibited. And I've been just noticing, my mood being a bit down, my energy levels being a bit down. And so I came across a video on the benefits of, and I didn't know it was on this, on the benefits of high intensity interval training, HIIT workouts. And as I listened to this, and it was things like an increase in human growth hormone, an increase in testosterone, an increase in focus, an increase in energy, but the list was, just a huge list, laid out of the benefits. And the workout protocol that was given was, it took less than 15 minutes. It was 6 intervals of 30-second high-intensity exercises with 90 seconds of recovery in between each, for a total of, I think, 12 to 14 minutes. And so I suddenly realised, I've got absolutely no excuse to not do that. And it's, especially if I'm going to get all of these perceived benefits, right? So, and why do I want to do exercise, right? Well, because for me, it's more about energy, vitality, focus, mood, all of those things, right? If you've ever met me in person, you'll know I don't need to lose much weight. And so for me, it was actually the kind of the wider benefits of having a regular exercise or movement and fitness routine. So when I think about this in the context of this value equation, okay, perceived likelihood of success, right? Well, as I listened to this list being laid out by this lady called Barbara O'Neill on this video about high intensity interval training, I was like, well, based on what she's saying here, I'm pretty much guaranteed for the investment of, here's the time delay piece, of less than 15 minutes. I'm pretty much, it sounds like, if her science is correct and she seems to have all these sources, I'm guaranteed to get the outcomes that I want, that I'm looking for in an exercise routine. Okay? The time delay is very minimal. Now, is there going to be some effort and sacrifice? Yes, it's going to be high intensity. However, in my mind, the fact that I only have to do it for less than 15 minutes means that for a minimal amount of effort and sacrifice, I'm going to get the dream outcome, right? So what I see is that unconsciously, I was stacking the odds of this value equation in my favor to move me to action. Okay? And it's true, like so I watched this video and immediately did a 15-minute HIIT workout and felt great. Like, got the benefits that I was looking for, right? So that's now kicked on, given me momentum to keep going with it. So, for you, okay, where are there things in your health life right now, with your health, that you would like to change? That you can either increase the perceived likelihood of achieving it by doing something, by changing something, right? That you can minimize the amount of time and or effort that you will have to expend to get some kind of proof of the result in progress. Now, it may not be the huge big outcome, right? If you want to, for example, lose 100 pounds, but can you do something over the next 24 hours, week, that moves you in the right direction, where you can see some progress? Okay? And therefore you start to stack the value equation in your favor. The likelihood, the perceived likelihood of achievement starts to go up. Okay? And therefore, the effort and sacrifice will, the perception of effort and sacrifice will be diminished because you know it's moving in the right direction. Okay? So, that is, I hope that's been helpful to start to think about how you might strategically approach changing things, improving things with your health, by understanding that this value equation doesn't just apply to business, it applies to all four pillars. And that if we can stack the odds in our favor, that is to increase the perceived likelihood of success and to decrease the time delay and the effort and sacrifice required, even if it's just a perception of those things, then we start to move ourselves in the direction where we can take action, take it consistently, and therefore start to get the results we want. Okay? So, good luck with this. I hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you tomorrow.